Welcome to the very first Calling All Growers workshop and webinar. I'm Liz Grow, your host, and really your guide through this amazing, wonderful world of growing, whether you're a home grower, hobbyist, whether you're just interested in learning a little more, or you're a commercial grower and you want to hear from the pros and you want to hear from your peers. This is what we do at Calling All Growers. We bring growers together to share the best information to make you a better grower. And I'm lucky enough to have the experts who joined me last week in the very first Calling All Growers show. Wendy Kornberg, second generation cannabis grower from Humboldt, and Ben Morgan Dillon, founder, head cultivator of Acadia Farms, green facilities specialist, and K&F expert. I know we're supposed to have James Burr as well of Organic Cultivators. He may be popping in. You guys know, this is a growers workshop. This is closed circuit. This isn't live. We can be our normal selves. You guys have stuff to do, a lot of stuff to do. You're chasing sunlight a lot. You have dirt on your hands, so that's really what this workshop's about. So Wendy, I want to turn it over to you right now because you are going to kick things off with a tutorial.
I love it. Chasing sunlight is exactly what we're doing. And we've been transplanting today. So I was like, well, this is great. People often we found that people have trouble transplanting. It's one of the things that as a grower, it's one of the first skills you need to learn along with watering. And so as I was sitting back there doing this today, I went, well, this is perfect. I'll just set aside a plant and I will bring it out and I will show you guys what we do on our farm when we're transplanting. And it's a very specific way that we do things. I need to grab one bucket, which I forgot. And the beautiful thing is I have children that tend to leave things around, so we can use this. So this is a little clone that was gifted to me. This is a tissue culture clone. I actually don't know the cultivar, so it's kind of fun. It's been about 3 weeks in this pot. It came in a little tiny root cube, like the tiniest cube I've ever seen. And we put it in baby roots soil, which is what we always use for our clones and our seedlings for starting at the very beginning. But they grow out of it pretty quickly and they need to get bumped up into healthier soil again. Okay. Like I said, this is 3 weeks. So
baby root soil. I'm going to be asking you about that at a later date.
Yeah. Yeah. Please. And please, Liz, if you have questions or something isn't clear, definitely interrupt me. I know sometimes I talk fast. So I, try to be mindful of slowing down. I get excited. So I'm like, yay.
Yeah. And you know what, if you have questions out there in the webinar, go ahead and put them in the comments and we will absolutely get to them. So please go ahead, Wendy.
And I'm going to go over this briefly because I know that Ben and I chatted beforehand about who wanted to cover what, and he is going to be covering SES, which is the nutrient maintenance solution that we use for Korean natural farming. I use it also, and that's what this is. So this is a jug of maintenance solution, and basically it's water, fermented plant juice, oriental herbal nutrient, and brown rice vinegar at different ratios. And we've done a lot of side-by-sides. I'm, if you follow me at all, I'm known as the queen of side-by-sides because I'm always like, always have a control group, always have a control group. You need to know what works and you need to know that exactly what you did is the variable that made the difference. We don't have money to waste. We don't have time to waste on small farms. So, what we found, very, very best way to transplant is you take your maintenance solution and I'm going to pour it in a jug.
Maintenance solution. As you're pouring, why is it called maintenance solution?
It's called maintenance solution because with Korean natural farming, you can use this as a general maintenance spray or drench at any time up to once a week. So it's just your general overall nutrient solution.
Okay.
And then I'm putting my plant in my little thing of maintenance solution. I'm going to tip it to the side. Let's see. Well, you get the idea. I'm tipping it to the side so that it's filling up.
I'm like I'm like leaning forward, like, who's he?
So this is just water. And then I'm sitting it in here. The reason I'm doing this is I like to let my plants get a little bit dried out before I transplant. That way, when you're soaking it in this solution, it's actually absorbing all those nutrients. Those roots are hungry for water. So they're going to suck everything up and it's going to give it a boost. And what we've seen is that when we do this, we have very, very little transplant shock. And we've done different types of, soaking in maintenance solution, taking it out of the pot first, leaving it in the pot, putting it in the hole, doing the whole 9 yards. But if if you have a small 4x4 tent, you can take it out of the pot. It's not that big of a deal. You're using maybe, 5 gallons of this stuff total. But if you're on a commercial farm like us, we're transplanting 1,500 clones, per run, per garden. I'm literally not going to make hundreds of gallons of this when I can make 5 to 10 and have that work as well. We also found that when you leave it in the pot, so still in the pot as it's soaking, okay, it doesn't damage the root structure at all. So if you have a really, really root bound plant, if you take it out and it's white roots everywhere and they're all congested up, you do need to tease them out so that they don't continue to coil and strangle themselves. But in this case, we're dinging it perfectly on the spot where we want to be. So once it's nice and wet and I can feel this pot, it's heavy, it's got weight to it, okay? It doesn't feel light, it's dripping water, it's nicely saturated. I'm gonna turn it upside down. And with these particular pots, I push on the bottom right in the middle, but you kind of got to just tease it out a little bit. It's just going to fall right out. And this is where we're at for our root structure. So this is pretty perfect. Okay. It's not root bound at all. They're a little bit growing in circles, but not terrible. So I might just tease out, a couple little ones here, but for the most part, I used to do a lot more like scrunching of the roots, if you will, like, rubbing them and things. And I found that with this, I don't have to do that. So this is time saving. And again, we don't want transplant shock. If you're, it doesn't even matter if you're a home grower or a commercial farmer, you really don't want to set yourself back a week on your time schedule. So when we do this, you can see my soil's holding together well, my roots are holding together well, and it's going to be perfect. I don't need to mess with it. So then this is the step that is one of the SOPs that people don't do. And I highly recommend everybody do this. I have my prep here. We have, this is Lost Coast plant therapy in solution, just because James had some. Normally I would use something that I would make myself. So a JWA soak, whatever you want to do to dip your plant in. Okay. Because we had, yeah. So we had aphids at one point, they are just around. We bring things in on our body. We bring things in without thinking about it. We go to the grow shop, we lean on a bag of dog food, and we bring russet mites home with us. And then we go into our plant room and now our plants have russet mites and we don't know it. So always, 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 when you're transplanting, always dip your plants. So the other great thing about dipping as opposed to spraying is you get really full coverage. Okay. So for us, we just simply, if you're transplanting a 3-foot tall plant, obviously you can't do this, right? Unless you have a 55-gallon drum or something ridiculous. It's not realistic. So in that case, you spray. But if you can dip your plant, you just want to take it and put it in. And what I'm doing is I'm holding it. The soil is above the water line or above the solution line. Okay. And I'm holding it under there basically until the bubbles stop rising or until there's, all the plant surface is covered. It's not holding any air. So it's completely underwater. And then I'm just picking it up. You can let it drip a few times. And then I have my pot that's about, halfway full of dirt or so. And I'm just going to gently set my plant right onto the top of the dirt. Okay, so now we have plant plus soil. Ooh. And then you want to try to make sure that you don't get the surface of your plant, the leaves, try and keep them clean if you can. It's a little difficult sometimes, but now our plant leaves are covered in whatever pest killing thing we're using. Soaps are great, you guys, like potassium. Oh, geez, I always mess it up. Potassium salts of fatty acids, right? Is I think what is generally called. It's a safer soap, if you will. There's no extra pesticides and it's a suffocant. Suffocant and a desiccant, depending on the temperature. And so all your soft-bodied insects are going to like shrivel up and die because of this. But if you then cover it with dirt, you're kind of negating what you just did. So try to like use your hand to hold back your plant and then put your soil in. And I'm just going to...
Wendy, your jewelry game is on point. I love it.
I know you guys are getting close-ups of the rings.
It's so good. It's so good.
So as I'm
Like glam
checking,
farming.
totally, we farm in lipstick and jewelry sometimes.
It happens. Okay,
So
so what are you doing?
now the plant is got soil up all around it. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've kind of covered it. All the edges are tucked in there. And then I'm just going to use my hands to just kind of gently press down along the sides. So basically around here, around these edges, just kind of tucking it into bed, if you will. I'm not smashing it. I'm not like squishing it in there. We don't want to compact our soil, but we want to get rid of any of those spots of air, those air gaps where there's no soil, because the roots will hit that and they won't go into that space as well. So then if you're done with your solution, so this was that maintenance solution that I dipped the root ball in, you can use this to water it in, or you can just use plain water. And when we're watering in, we want to go around, the entire pot. You want to get all the surface of the soil. When you're transplanting, it's really important to water in really, really well. When we're transplanting into the ground on the field, we go over it once, we go over it twice, and then we go over it all the in-between spaces as well. We want the ground completely saturated. And ideally then, not like, you don't want to drown it, but, really water it in well. And then ideally your mulch is there to maintain that moisture level. And you're usually not watering for at least a week after that if you do it right when you transplant.
Really? And why? Yeah. What's the point of that? You just want it to settle, or?
Well, the thing is, you don't want to overwater. Okay. So if you're watering in really well when you transplant, the water is going to be saturating the entire media. So, or medium, I should say. So all that medium is going to be holding all that moisture. If you have good mulch on top, then that mulch is preserving that moisture. It's not evaporating out. So as the roots start growing out, they're going out into those places of moisture that haven't been uptaken by the plants yet. And really what this does is it's signaling the plant to push roots out. Okay. So roots go out. You don't want them going down. You don't want them truncating. You want them filling in all the spaces. There's this whole as above, so below thing. This is more of an as below, so above. We want the structure to mimic what's going on up above us.
Yeah. So, that makes perfect sense. That makes total sense. So you're really, you're training the roots or inviting the roots to reach out and get that good stuff. And I can understand then why you wouldn't overwater, because you want them to reach out, and find what's there and use that first.
And what they're doing in that case, if they're seeking water, they're also going to hit those pockets of nutrients that haven't been utilized by the plants yet. So now, if you're amending your whole soil bed, those nutrients will be available as the plant grows. As the roots hit it, they hit new nutrients and new nutrients and new nutrients, and they have everything they need for the entire life cycle of the plant. If you've got your soil life appropriate, your biology is there, your micronutrients and trace minerals. If everything's available in the soil and you have a healthy soil food web, you won't need to top dress. You won't need to fertilize. There are exceptions, but there's a few cultivars that you can really push with nutrients. And a lot of times we are pushing cannabis, but you don't have to, is the thing. So this is done. So this has now been transplanted up from the 4-inch pot into a 1-gallon pot. And she'll be fine in this. So this is, I think, a 3-week-old plant, 3.5 weeks, something like that. So she'll be fine in this for another 4 weeks or so, and then she'll go into her final resting place. The other thing I do at this point is I want to push growth into the laterals, not straight up. So I go ahead at this time and I would take the top off. So I've now taken the growth, and some people bend it. You don't have to take it off. I don't have time to like gently bend, and we're small. We're a big farm with a small crew. So I rip it off. Again, do as you will, try it out. What works on my farm might not work on your farm. Right. So, do a side by side, do it with some and not with others. But the idea is we've taken the growing hormones off of this, and now it's going to push it into these laterals. And this will turn into a very nice, full, bushy plant really quickly. And I would not do this necessarily for a full term plant. This is something we do for clones. We do it for our light dep. We do it for what we call the turn and burn, because you want it to fill out more space faster on the horizontal rather than on the lateral.
Okay. When would you not do it? When would
I don't,
you
I don't,
hold
I don't
back?
top my full term plants that are from seed.
Mhm.
If it's going to go, I started it in spring and I'm taking it all the way through summer into fall and I'm harvesting in October, September, October, November.
Okay.
I don't do any pruning of those plants. There are, why is this not charging?
Must be nice
Um,
along an outdoor season.
yeah.
Like October, sometimes November. I'm like, yeah.
I've harvested in December before. It's not the best idea, but sometimes you can get away with it.
Talk about full term.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so you don't do that on your full term plants. Okay, so you mentioned that Ben has a recipe. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and just really quickly, this year, James really does like low stress training and it is really beneficial, but I honestly, we usually have never had time. Yields do increase if you can train your plants to go out more. So in that case, and way back in the day when I only had 4 or 5 gardens that had 10 to 16 plants each, I definitely did more training. I definitely, bent things out through the cages and, made them stretch and made them take up more space. But, there is a cost benefit analysis you have to do on how much time you're spending versus how much yield you're actually getting.
Yep.
So, low stress training. We'll probably do some fun little side by sides this year. Maybe we'll top some of our seed starts and maybe we'll not top others and train them different directions. But again, it just depends on how much time we actually have because we've got a lot of projects going on this year. So
right.
we'll see.
You're farming, it's hands-on. And you brought up a great point. This is something that I want everybody to really hear and understand in the audience, that your success is dictated by you. It's about what your intended outcome is. If you're a first-time grower, is your best outcome to keep it alive and to maybe smoke something at the end of it all, or if it's to scale your business and increase your yields. This show and ideally these webinars will be here for you to get closer to those goals. So I just love though that the folks on this panel have done it all, and do know how to speak that language of the rookie grower all the way to, the commercial producer, as you guys are at Cannabis.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Meet Caduceus Science, the alternative wellness company. You know CBD, but how about CBG, CBN? That's right, Caduceus Science produces a range of full-spectrum products, all lab-tested in small batches to maintain the highest quality of products. CaduceusScience.com.